Welcome to the MaxBet podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike Kiski. Let's get started. Good evening or morning, whatever it is. Welcome back to the MaxBet podcast. Some of you out there have been talking about my rap skills.
Oh yeah, you got some interesting skills in that regard.
Zero skills when it comes to rapping.
I don't want to crush you,
but I appreciate you guys that are out there supporting my rap career journey.
Soon to be,
which is non-existent at the moment.
What would your rap name be? Do you have like a rap handle that you'd go with? Now that you're talking about your skills, is it just DJ Lando or what?
You know, I'd probably go with Shorty 007. That was my stage name in high school.
What?
You asked.
That was, I know, but I'm just, fantastic. No, it's great. So that was your stage name in high school? You're performing under this handle? So you were like doing like what? What you know
about Shorty 007 in the house? Yeah.
Was that also your instant messenger name for anyone old enough to remember that?
No, it was Big Mac LMJ, which I'm not super stoked about, and had nothing to do with McDonald's.
No, just Return of the Mac,
so
Big Mac.
Bad.
That is horrible.
Thanks for joining us on this wonderful podcast day.
We're back in the studio. It's weird for us because I feel like we haven't been in studio for like 2-3 weeks, even though we've had episodes.
Yeah.
Because some of them we filmed in advance, right? And then we just release them a little later. Yeah. So yeah,
give me a current event topic that you want to discuss, and then I'll discuss one.
Man, okay. I've been reading a lot about the war. Don't necessarily need to get into all that because I feel like this isn't one of those politically charged global news podcasts.
Not us.
Current events. Summer's coming. Spring break. Let's talk about that's current. That's something fun.
Okay.
I'm going to the water park. So I'll call the current event spring break, and then the thing I want to talk about is I'm taking the kids to the water park. I feel
so many things to say.
Say what you want to say. Go
I was just thinking like arm floaties, like the little blow up floaties. You would just have to use the whole donut.
just the regulation tube.
Yeah, the regulation tube.
It just says my arms. Luckily, I know how to swim, and I'm tall enough that I don't even need that because you just stand up in the lazy river and it's like 3 feet. So you go, all right, well.
And it overflows. It's like,
it's not even up to my waist.
Too much water in this thing?
Yeah, that's nice. It's okay. Make the big guy jokes. At least I can ride all the rides there, short stack. So we're all good. All in fun. No body shaming.
Shorty 007
just for each other.
You.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm going to take that Big Mac title away from you. But yeah, I'm pumped for that. So like it's one of those where it just opened up because I guess staffing, they don't do it year round, even though I'd go when it's cold. I wouldn't care. Yeah. But I am probably literally the largest little kid in the world. So I'm like, the kids are old enough. We can go. And like, I'll take them. I'll go on all the rides. Let's spin down the.
You're like, yo, Johnny, what's your favorite ride? I like the double stack tube ride over there.
We're doing it. Come on, kid.
Mom, this guy's talking to me.
Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. We're going. What's your current event?
It's not that current, but I wanted to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
The Will Smith slap project.
Slap heard around the world.
Because I know everybody's talking about it in their podcast. We're a little bit late to the talk about it.
Now you can have even more mature insight.
I do love that Chris Rock just took a hammer to the face. And if you look at him, he had his hands behind his back the whole time. He just took it like a champ.
Yeah.
What a stud.
I don't think he's really commented. Like I've heard some things where people would like yell out like F Will Smith or boo, whatever. And he's like, no, don't like, he doesn't really perpetuate that. But I will say,
because he's a stud.
It's he comes out looking better than anybody here.
Yeah.
Right. Because like, again, he made the joke, finds a comedian. It's what he does. Right. It's comedy. You don't like it. Like, again, I roll and move on. Like you can't, I don't know that I would support somebody going on stage and smacking him. What's weird is somebody goes, would you support that? I go, I don't think I support that. I go, but weirdly, if after the show, you're behind the scenes, you said, hey, you crossed the line and then something got weird, I feel like somehow that's better. I don't know if that is or not, but I think there's got to be a line for performers where they say, look, like you're a celebrity, you've opened yourself up to jokes. Like we make short guy, big guy jokes. It's part of it. We're not celebrities, but it's part of the deal, right? Oh, yeah. Whereas you're world famous, I don't know how much money they have, but tens of millions of dollars. Like you're going to take you're going to be the target of comedy, right? And so.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing with it. First of all, so he has this new tour, this world tour.
Chris Rock?
He's doing this comedian tour, and he wasn't selling it out. and now all of his shows are sold out
really?
at like a 10x multiple on the ticket sales. So congrats to him, and he deserves that. What I don't support is that they didn't kick Will Smith out after that happened, and they still gave him his award.
Tough, man. It's tough.
No, it's not tough. You can't just go up and slap someone in the face on a public stage.
Listen, I get it. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're them, you're sitting there. And look, to do what you're suggesting would have been the most courageous thing to do. Probably the right thing, but by no means easy, because they knew already. I don't know if he knew, but what the awards probably already knew is this guy's about to win Best Actor in this King Richard movie with the Williams sisters, right? So, like, what are we going to do? Award it to this guy and he's not even there?
Yeah.
Well, hey, he won it, but we escorted him out because he committed violence. Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I get it. That's probably the right answer. But I think if you're them, you're going, well, wait a minute, I got money to make. I mean, look.
I heard, and this could be hearsay, that they asked him to leave and he said
that's what everybody said. Yeah.
So, okay.
I always think that's interesting, right? Because I work in security in college, right, and different things. Nothing ever too serious happened, but there'll be times when you go up, and most of the time you go, hey, man, you got to go. You just smacked a guy or you're drunk or whatever. 95% of the time, people go, yeah, I got it. Yeah, fine. I'm on my way out.
And we're calling it a slap. Dude, he might as well have just socked him in that thing was full cocked.
Yeah, sometimes I think certain slaps hurt worse, right? Like, so it's debatable on either one, but like, so yeah, just full hammer time.
Still get hit by the palm with the force and the power, and then the sting of, I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Here's the deal. I wouldn't want to just lean into somebody like, and Will Smith's a fit dude. Like, he's not like he's a librarian. Like, he's a hammer. He works out.
Some librarian out there.
Some hulking librarian's going to knock on the door and go, you want to go, big boy? Anyway, so shout out to all the bodybuilding librarians. But as it is, like, he just took it. But I wouldn't want that. I don't know, man. It's tough, dude. It's a tough scenario. It's the only person that looks good is Chris Rock. Because he just laughed and he commented, he just kind of shook it off in the moment. He's like, I just took this guy's powerful slap. And like, you just hit me. Yeah, I get it. The joke's not funny to you. Fine. Like, didn't press charges as far as I can tell. Has yet to like talk bad about the guy. Has not said, hey, he's just like, yeah, man, it's all good. Just leave it alone. Just leave it down. And so it's like, man, that guy comes out looking like a stud. I didn't know about the sold tickets thing, but
he's a stud.
Yeah. So we'll see how that unfolds. But is there anyone you would want to smack? I guess role reversal. If I'm trying to make it relevant to ourselves, is there anybody you're like, that's who I would want to go for?
I kind of want to smack Will Smith now for smacking Chris Rock.
Just turn it around. The one thing I'll say is, from a comedy perspective, I don't know if the joke was all that funny, but like a lot of people are up in arms originally because it's like, well, it's a medical condition for her. Yeah. So like, to me, and I don't know if it's exactly the same, obviously, but like if somebody had a cancer diagnosis, you wouldn't make fun of that because it's not in their control, right? It's a medical thing. It's
alopecia is like.
Yeah, I get it's not as serious as I get it, but it's like, but she can't control it. She didn't shave her head to like do it as a fashion thing, and then you're making fun of it, right? Yeah. She just that was the scenario that unfolded for her. So I get where that would be like sensitive, but yeah, can't smack people on stage. No. Probably shouldn't even smack them off stage, but that would have been my preferred course.
But that's the thing, dude, is G.I. Jane was a powerful woman. Like, that was a powerful thing. So he like, I love that movie. It's not a negative thing to say when is G.I. Jane, because she was in green, she had the shaved head, so like it made sense, and she played it originally, so it wasn't that bad of a comment. Yeah, and granted, he didn't know about the alopecia thing, which was a publicly, I guess, known thing. I didn't know about it.
I didn't either. But all these things. I feel like if you're gonna rip on someone, you should probably have some context, though. Like, you're about to go on. I don't know how many people watch it. Probably tens of millions of people watch it now. Hundreds of millions because of the clip. But like, you should probably have some context. If I'm gonna rip on this person, I should know that, like, he's not big because he eats cheeseburgers and has no discipline. He's big because he can't medically lose weight, or she doesn't have hair because she thinks it's good looking. She just doesn't have it, right? Like, or not. Who the hell knows? Giving way too much responsibility to comedians.
Chris Rock, if you're listening, which you're not, you're a champion for taking that. Like,
Landon loves you. Send him tickets to their show.
Yeah, I'm in. And still looking for Rush Hour 3 or whatever.
That's Chris Tucker.
That is Chris Tucker.
Okay, you look horrible right now.
You can smack me.
I don't want to smack you. I just
not
said
you.
Oh, Chris Rock can smack you. Got it. So we're just paying the smacks for it.
I don't think I have enough
violence.
I would be set into another orbit if you slapped me.
Okay.
Rock and roll. Let's get into the interview.
Well, let's do a couple shout outs.
Okay.
So that was fun. So we've got Rippee coming in, Dr. Robert Rippee.
Yep.
Right. So total stud. He he was chatting with us about pretty much all kinds of stuff. Innovation is his main focus, big history in the gaming biz. What I love about him, he just went down the road with you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you just went in and you asked some what I think is kind of weird stuff.
Good.
And yeah, I know. And so, but he was just like, oh, you want to talk about aliens and gambling? Let's talk about how those two things cross-sect. And it's like, whoa, okay. I just remember sitting there thinking, this is happening. I'm right here. This is wild, right? It's
Why
real.
wouldn't you ask those questions?
I wouldn't, because I don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
You do, so you do. But then, and so speaking of UNLV, we were talking to Bo last week, and what a general stud
Shout
that guy
out
is.
to
Bo
UNLV and
Go Rebs, and what Bo's doing there, and he's got some big plans. I'll let them break it, right?
Yep.
In their kind of upcoming, but they made some big deals and some big
Hell yeah.
partnerships and. Rebels on the rise, man. So just go UNLV and go Rebs. So if you're looking for education, come to the desert. And then separately, I get excited when we start putting interviews on the books, right? So like we don't always preview. We're not necessarily big on going, oh, the next couple interviews are going to be ABC and shouting names. We just kind of release them, right?
Yeah,
Surprise, we got a cool guy, Dr. Rippee. But one of the guys we're talking to, Richard Marcus. Right, he's coming up. I don't know, about a couple months. I think I can't remember the exact schedule. He is a guy that fascinates me. So he was a dealer, and then he became for like 20 plus years a casino cheat. So he spent his time cheating the casinos, figuring out schemes and poker and other things. Going, I'm gonna cheat these guys, and I'm gonna make a little money on it. I don't know his whole story, but I know it somehow he reformed. So I'm sure he got caught and said, "Hey, how about I just teach you how to stop me instead of putting me in jail?" I don't know if that's true. We'll interview him and find out. But he's now hosting a conference, right? So the Table Games Game Protection Conference here in Vegas, June 6th through 9th. And that's going to be pretty cool. So we're going. I'm looking forward to going to that, walking around. We're not presenting, but we're just hanging out and learning some stuff. And it's like a good who's who of presenters and things. So I'm excited to see our friend Kieran, guys like Roger Snow, friends of the show, will be there presenting, kind of sharing their knowledge. So looking forward to doing that. And then more short term, we're going to NIGA.
We are going to be at NIGA. National
Indian Gaming Association. So no one necessarily to shout out for that, but we're excited to see everybody in 2 weeks or I guess 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, and walk the show. And so if you're around, we're going. So if you want us to come check out any tech, I'd love seeing all the cool new stuff. And you decide. I can look at it offline and not tell anybody about it, or you can show us, blow our minds, then let's go. Hey, did you see what they're doing? So we're pumped to go do that.
Yeah, and if you guys want to talk about anything cool that you're going to be displaying at NIGA, give us a shout out, and we'll chat about it.
We love learning stuff.
Because that's what we do.
Yeah, right. And you made it this far. Like and subscribe. Helps us out. Give us a little thumbs up. And
get ready for a badass interview.
Dr. Rippee. Let's rip it.
See you on the other side.
Dr. Rippee, thanks for joining us in studio today. I appreciate you coming by.
My pleasure. Fun to be here.
Yeah, this is fun. And I always have to shout out right at the beginning. You were called out by Nasim when she did her podcast. You wasted no time agreeing and coming down. So I always give you a little extra pat on the back for answering the challenge there. So appreciate that as well.
My pleasure.
And so what do you got cooking right now? So for those, obviously we introed you, but as we go, you're the executive director of BlackFire Innovation Lab. Did I get that right?
You got it exactly right.
Okay, perfect. And so what is BlackFire? I feel like a lot of people probably know, but there's probably as many that don't know yet. So how would you describe BlackFire?
So BlackFire is part incubator, part accelerator. And what those means is we take new ideas and help those startups go to market. Or we take existing technologies and refine them so that they can scale faster into the marketplace. Mostly tech, mostly related to gaming, hospitality, entertainment, the kind of thing that's right outside our back door here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's more like product tech. Like I know Nasim was talking about robots and different things.
I'd say at this point it is.
Yeah.
It could include a lot of things. It could include changing process or the integration of products like robots into existing processes to make them more efficient or better or more enjoyable. It could be AR.
Yeah.
Great one. We were looking at AR yesterday, which was really fun.
Augmented reality. This is where it's going, baby.
Yeah.
I'm in on
the future.
Metaverse.
The Metaverse. All right, so since you said it, what is the Metaverse? I feel like I'm the caveman that goes, I know it's cool. It's supposed to be. I'll just take the grenade for the people that don't know what.
Can I buy this at Target?
No,
you can't
probably
buy
not.
it.
Yeah.
You can't. Not yet.
Well, I don't think you can even hold it, right? Like it's not a thing you can ever say, I bought this or I am.
Well,
NFTs.
You can hold the pieces that allow you to access the metaverse. For example, a virtual reality headset.
Okay.
You can hold an Oculus headset.
Yes.
I'm not giving a plug to Oculus.
No, it's
just an
fair.
example.
Yeah. No free ads. No.
So metaverse is this, think of it in its simplest sense as an artificial world in which you are there interacting with other people, interacting, doing things, visual at this point, mostly visual sense with sound. At some point, it will include other sensations, which you know about the suit, that includes in there. But think of it just as a completely virtual world in which you might game. You might watch music, listen to music. You might hang out with your friends.
And is it true that you can buy currently virtual real estate? So they're selling virtual properties in the meta space right now.
Yes. So it's really technically a form of an NFT, right?
Yeah.
So it's a digital asset. It exists as a virtual thing. It's just out there, right? And you own the digital asset. You own the word I'm looking for right now. Anyway, you own that piece.
Yeah.
It's not like you own a lot in Summerlin. You own this digital artifact that is in the metaverse. And it's called real estate. It's not technically land.
Have you bought any of these real estate pieces?
NFTs. Yeah, not real estate pieces. No.
Okay.
Interesting.
That
So
wild.
NFT, non-fungible token, right?
Correct.
That's, if I understand, that's about where my understanding of this ends. So you buy it, and then it's a thing you hold. But it's interesting because like when it's a picture, right? You go, I could screenshot the picture. Now I have the picture. I don't have the source, right? The blockchain or whatever it is that they said this exact footprint of it, but I don't know how, like, what's the appeal, I guess? I mean, I know it's booming. I know that I'm the idiot that's late to the dance. I'm not pretending that like I'm going to take this whole thing down. I really just don't get it.
So first of all, think of it this way. You're not late to the dance.
Okay.
It's just starting.
Got it.
And it's growing. Yeah, it's growing rapidly, but we are in the infant stages of this. And so there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
Eventually it settles down into real products and how things really get transacted in a metaverse. And, right now kind of the focus is on things that are related to art or collectibles, right?
Yep.
And because we can all kind of understand owning a rare baseball card.
Sure.
Right? My son collected baseball cards. I still got them at home.
Hold it
They're
in your
cool.
hand.
Pick them up. I remember when he got that. And you have the association of feelings you have that are attached to that thing. Right? This is no different, only it's a digital thing, and you're going to see it in a digital world. You can own it. It means, and the fact that it's non-fungible means there's only one. Right? There's only one of it. Now there can be copies of the picture, but all of the digital information that goes with the picture is what you actually.
I guess it's like art, right? Like
So-
there's only one Mona Lisa, even though you can screen print them a million times, right?
How does this NFT and meta space play into the gaming world, the casino world?
So, great question.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, and in fact, there have been virtualized casinos for a while. That's not new, right? You put on a headset and you go into a virtual casino.
Right.
I can remember seeing those at G2E probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
Going in there, and people were, working on this environment. So they're eventually going to converge because of gameplay. Right? We like to play games. Casinos are a version of gameplay. Makes every sense that you could create a virtualized casino, since there seems to be a strong trend towards online gaming anyway.
Right.
Part of that was driven by the pandemic. Part of that was just by just a general trend of us enjoying and consuming entertainment online. And those converging in the metaverse makes sense because the technology exists to make that happen, where you would go to a virtualized casino. Now, what's different about it is, and I think this is where some of the early attempts came up short. Well, it's one thing to recreate the inside of a casino like we see it today, right? Kind of boring, actually, in a virtual world. Like, why would I go there when I can go to the real thing? Okay, well, let's do this on, I don't know, Mars.
Yeah.
So or on the space station.
I like this.
Or in you're floating in hyperspace now. Or maybe we could play with the laws of physics a little bit now because you're in a virtual world.
Interesting. So that makes sense. So now you're putting on like your Oculus headset or whatever headset you use to get into this, and then you're virtually going, I'm going to the Martian casino, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with things that are of the planet Mars, right? So like you're saying, hey, I weigh less here or more, or I'm, whatever. I don't know what the things are physically, but like, all right.
I got to ask one question while we're sitting right here, because it was a popular question on our last podcast. if extraterrestrials exist, do you think they gamble?
Well, two questions. So those are called hypotheses.
Yes, I love that.
So
Let's
the first hypothesis, do extraterrestrials exist? The answer is probably statistically yes. It would seem that it's unlikely they don't exist.
Yeah.
Do I believe they exist? Statistically, yes. Do they gamble? I would say, given the prevalence of the prior answer, yes.
Yes.
Gambling aliens.
I love
That's
this.
what's coming.
Hypothesizing here, people.
Hypothesizing. That's it. If you're not hypothesizing, what are you doing? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You're answering hypotheses.
Yeah, I guess
if
you're
Yeah.
validating
You
whether
can only
they're
have
there
one
or not.
side of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
question.
That's funny. So you got gambling aliens. But see, that makes sense. So, because to your point, like when I think about it, I'm like, so why would I just put the goggles on to pretend I'm at the Bellagio or to pretend I'm at, Cosmo or Circa or wherever you're going to go? And it's like, well, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But to your point, when you're going, oh, but now you could play in some other parallel universe or some like,
Let's
Space
relax
station.
gravity
Yeah.
while you're in that virtual casino. Now what happens?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. We could create, you know what? We could create a new game. We could create games that float in the air and have different effects. Still underlying math would drive the game in order for it to be legal. But you could create environments
like
that you just cannot do in
elements. Yeah, that's
in a
interesting.
physical world.
You wonder if you'd have to do that on property. So if I'm Landon Trust, ex-casino, travel run property, I go to that property, I go into the VR room,
Yeah.
put my goggles on, and now I can walk into an actual virtual space where I can legally gamble because I'm on premise at that property.
Well, you probably have to do it in a way that's legal. So, like, there's online gaming. So, like, there's many states and international jurisdictions where you can gamble online. Like, to me, I would assume the gambling function would sit similar.
But
to
will
that.
everybody have that top-notch gear at their house? Like, they could offer that experience that you could get at a casino that could provide it for them.
That's a great
like
question.
a lounge, like a VR lounge. Yeah.
I have one of the teams that is in the incubator program right now is working on the very concept of convergence of the physical experience with the virtual experience. And that's a very, very good idea, right? Because you can buy an Oculus headset or anything, a HoloLens and play at home in your living room. Okay, that's fun. But you need to create an environment like we do now that entices you to go in.
Yeah.
Why? You want to go with your friends, you want to hang out there and do other things. You want to get some great food that you don't cook.
Yeah, right.
You want to try some crazy drinks, whatever it is. So you still want to create that environment that brings you in, but then integrate this virtual experience into that in such a way and add the quality of equipment that you probably are not going to be able to afford to have in your living room.
You made me think of that when you brought up Mars and this weightless experience. I'm thinking of this like little egg pod that could have like zero gravity feeling or.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, right? Because we said, and we should probably correct the record. So I think we were talking in Nassim. We were like, hey, he invented the haptic suit because we got so excited touring BlackFire with Bo Bernard, and you showed us the haptic suit.
I showed you a haptic suit.
So not the inventor, big fan of it. It sounds like so.
Yes.
But it sounds like you would need some level of technology, whether it's a suit that punches you in the ribs or a pod that floats you in the air, like to feel that, right? I'm assuming
Imagine
it's
you
not
lose
just
and you just get jacked in the ribs.
Mike
Don't
Tyson's
do that
punch out,
again.
Just get crushed, yeah.
So I think where you're going is what I was kind of mentioning earlier on. Is the headset will give you a visual sense, right? And we can provide the sounds. So you're getting two senses. We've got to add more. We've got to have touch.
Right.
So that's haptic, right? Haptic is going to give us sensation and body sensation. So now our brain is beginning to get convinced that I'm actually someplace.
Yeah, right.
That I'm not just watching a game on a screen on a two-dimensional
Yeah, you're not just
screen.
watching a B-roll of Mars. You're on Mars.
I'm on Mars. Because the more sensations we flood our brain with, the more associations we make, the more we convince ourselves we are actually there. Right. So there's touch, there's smell, there's taste, all of those things eventually will develop from a technology perspective to then convince your brain you're someplace you're not.
And now we live in the virtual world. That's what just happened. You are no longer present in this world. You're in another dimension.
So you're moving between the two.
Yeah, for the time being, right? I mean, you take a break into that world.
I mean, what's different now when you jump on your phone and you get lost into IG or Facebook or whatever your social media platform is? It's creating those emotions, those endorphins. I mean,
probably your commitment level.
Essentially in another world, there's just a different touch point. I mean, that's wild.
Well, that's your brain becoming focused, right?
Yeah.
You get in the zone, you're concentrating, your brain devotes its cognitive resources to IG or TikTok, whatever your choice is, and you're enjoying it, whether it's for 5 minutes or an hour. This is no different, only as you're getting much more sensory, stimulation, a much greater degree of sensory stimulation.
That's amazing. You can see where this could go, right? Where you go, hey,
you see where it's going.
Well, yeah, not even just for gambling, but just in society, where you go, okay, now, let's say Doc lives in New Jersey and I live in Vegas. It's like, I'm going to slap a hug on you. You do it virtually, and the suit will squeeze you like I'm hugging you. No, that's weird, right?
Imagine, even take gambling out of it. Think about a mini vacation. So you're a progressive company and you have these VR rooms, have these little egg pods. You step into Hawaii, you feel the sun on your face, you feel like you're in Hawaii for just 10 minutes.
Planning, misting
sand, we have some mister getting banged around with some eucalyptus leaves, whatever your vacation is. That's coming.
It's so weird to think.
Maybe.
I'm not downplaying. I'm sure it is coming. It's just weird to envision.
Well, it's the same thing as imagine 2 decades ago, 20 years ago, telling somebody that you would be holding a device in your hand that's 3 inches by about 5 inches, and within which you'd be able to see any video from anywhere in the world. I'd be like, are you crazy? That'd be so cool to be able to do that, and you get video on it too. Wow. So now we're just saying, oh, now I'm in that world.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is great. By the way, I'm not smart enough to be having these conversations.
No, totally
this is
people like Dr. Rippee on to kind of help us out. Yeah. So, okay, so question, what are you a doctor of? I always find that fascinating because sometimes you get an MD and he's like, oh, now I study stuff. You're like, wait, that's cool.
I'm not an MD.
I figured.
I'm PhD.
Yeah. Okay.
So Doctor of Philosophy, which I earned from UNLV.
I love that.
2 years ago.
Nice.
So.
And was that philosophy? The Doctor of Philosophy is just what PhD is, right?
Yeah, so you're stands for.
Tripping me up here a little bit because I only got a master's. But but what was your focus? What was your study?
So I got my Doctor of Philosophy from the UNLV's Hotel College.
Oh, cool.
My area of focus was consumer behavior and human learning.
Oh, wow.
That's what my concentration was.
What did you learn? I guess is my question. So when you went through all that, what are some of the fun things you're going, wow, obviously that's a whole area of study. Are there trends emerging? Are there patterns you're going, wow, really didn't notice humans would be doing these things?
I wrote my dissertation and did my research on innovation.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because that's what I do. I run our innovation ecosystem. And so I studied it from the context of both higher education and the private sector.
Yeah, right.
And in terms of higher education, how are we teaching it? What do we know about it? In particular, in the private sector, in hospitality and gaming industry, how is it really defined, and is it being done?
Yeah, right.
And if not, what are some of the obstacles to innovation happening at a faster pace?
Right.
And so I researched that for over a year, and wrote my dissertation, defended it, and
there you are.
Got the terminal degree.
Dr. Rippee, yeah, no doubt.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this meta stuff, and I kind of want to bring it back in full circle. So this is coming. It's coming. Everybody knows it. We're probably 10 years behind it. Who knows? What does this do to physical, in your opinion, physical brick and mortar locations?
Yeah.
Casino, even entertainment. If I'm going to go watch a concert, VR at my house, what does this do to physical locations in terms of, right now, I think we're oversaturated as it is with casinos in the country. I believe that they're less and less popping up, but as online gaming comes and these virtual experiences, do people get less likely to go want to have a social experience in a physical location, or do they shift over into the virtual world?
I don't think that trend or that behavior changes.
Yeah.
I think we are social beings. We enjoy social time together. We enjoy new experiences. There are very few that just enjoy spending all of their time inside their house.
Right.
There are probably a few more now during the pandemic, but still, when that unlocked and people began to go out, we realized how much we really missed that, right? You saw a flood of people going out. You saw a flood of people into Las Vegas that first weekend it opened. Simply, part of that was just pent up. I like to socialize. I want to be around energy, and touch and feel.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge is not so much will this cannibalize the bricks and mortar type casino experience. I think it's a challenge to the bricks and mortar casino experience to up your game.
Yeah.
You've got to recognize that people are still social animals. We still like to socialize. We still like experiences, but you've got to take this technology and converge it in a way that will still bring them to you, because you'll be the provider of that.
Yeah, right.
You'll be the provider of that experience, the place where they can go to do that. And if it involves gambling, which is not going to go away,
Right.
and we've seen an even stronger prevalence for it online, that part of that was driven just by convenience, right? Locked in your house, can't do it anywhere. It's legal in this state, so I'll do it. So taking advantage of us consuming entertainment, forms of entertainment online, with still wanting to be socialized and in new experiences, presents a challenge to them, right? Don't raise the white flag. Go after it. Go after the technology. Learn about it. Figure out, try, experiment with ways to try and engage people with this technology.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you're talking, I'm listening. Like, it's almost like people have to learn how to do the meta or how to do the virtual.
Yeah,
right?
you need to learn about the technology,
right.
right? And not be frightened from it. I mean, it's not earth change. It's not going to hurt you, you know, and it's also very fascinating. Put on a headset, VR headset, and try one out. You know, my wife had some friends over at her house, and I had an AR headset at my house. And the lady came in, I was working in my office. She said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, it's an AR headset. Would you like to try it?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "What does it do?"
Yeah.
You know, I'm scared. Well, you don't need to be scared. It's not going to hurt you.
Right.
And I put it on her, and she was like, "Wow, this is cool. This is what this is." You know, and she got to experience firsthand, and immediately the fear went away. She thought it was really interesting. She wanted to do more. And, you know, so that's what I'm saying, is that once you experience and get through the kind of fear or the lack of understanding about what this equipment is, and you embrace it for what it is, which is just fascinating new technology, then that convergence will happen, and you'll figure out as an operator or as an inventor, man, here's what I'm going to do with this. This is going to make a great experience, and people will come in here and love this. They'll pay, they'll stay for hours, they'll do it, they'll eat our food, they'll drink our drinks, and have a great time.
As well.
Well, so then what I was going to ask you, because you said, well, I study.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in, right? Like I want to learn, but you study human behavior and innovation.
Yeah.
Do you? I guess for me, what I would have assumed was that, like, you study human behavior, you go, here's what humans need. What I'm realizing is that maybe you just innovate and then the behavior catches up. Like, is there one side of that equation that drives the other, or they really just work in tandem, or is it a split?
Understand the behavior first. And that's kind of the core of what when I do teach at UNLV. It's like, understand the problem, understanding the underlying behavior. What do people want? What is a problem you can solve for them? The innovation then answers that problem. So what do we need? Socialization. We like gameplay. We enjoy new experiences. We enjoy in short bursts, right? The TikTok bursts, the Instagram bursts, the Reels.
Short form video.
Short form video. We all like consuming it very quickly. And we like a narrative, right? Video games, great video games, have a strong narrative underneath. There's a story, right? For sure. Even Grand Theft Auto has a story underneath it. And so you combine those things together, and I think you begin to understand the behavior that should drive not the integration of technology. There's a saying that's called a solution in search of a problem. That's when you create technology without really identifying what it's actually doing or benefiting people or what kind of behavior it's affecting. And so if you understand the behavior first, then adapt the technology to it,
you should be good.
Higher potential for winning.
So we've got AR, VR, NFTs, this meta. Out of all these new fun technologies, what segment of that are you most interested in? Like, what portion of that are you like?
Or can you even splice it like that?
Yeah.
Well, you can break it into each of those segments. I think what's of interest to me the most is what you asked me a little while ago, which was, how do you converge those in a bricks and mortar casino? And it doesn't mean just casino. It could be anything, a theater, hotel, whatever. It's how does this technology ultimately become a physical experience that you want to go to do, right? That you want to go there to do it. For any number of reasons. And you'll go again and you'll spend hours there. But there has to be more to it than just a room where I go and put on a headset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, right? But like, what do you mean? I guess, what do you mean? Like, to your point, when you were saying earlier, like, hey, I come in, I do the headset room thing. Yeah. Right? So whether it's a bubble pod or a suit or whatever, you do that whole thing. But then you go, But then I'm going to take that off and I'm going to have a nice meal.
Well, I think it's
Or
more
a
than that,
spa or whatever.
You want to go there with your friends.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't want to put on a headset and then they just sit there and watch you.
Some
like,
random guy.
what is he doing?
You
That's a
kind
good
of
point.
like
Just
hang
you and
out,
me
man.
watch.
Like even look at esports right now.
Okay.
Yeah, these Twitch characters, these guys that play Twitch have millions of followers.
Yeah.
They become a different character when they sit down in their game chair. They put whatever Mickey Mouse ears on and
Yes.
their Kitty Cat Wonder 54324.
Yeah.
And then that's who they are within those couple hours that they're hanging out. And then when they're done, they take their headset off, the cat ears, and they go their Mark
Yep,
right
yep,
out
yep,
in the
yep.
real world.
Yeah.
And it like gives them this opportunity to
Mark?
be a whole nother person in this digital world, which you can now become in VR, AR, the meta space. So like
Yeah.
Big Mike, you might be Little Mike. You might be Little Mike.
Could be.
Let's see what it feels like to be 5'8".
You know, it's funny. So completely random thing. You ever watch the show The Office?
Yes.
So where Dwight creates his whole character in like this fake universe, and it's exactly who he is in real life. That's kind of how I feel like I would do, except I give myself superpowers. Like I like my life, but then I go, but in this world, I'm gonna fly. I can be the same height and all the same. That's all good for me. But then it's like, but I'm gonna fly now, or I'm gonna have like I don't know, whatever, some invisibility capability.
Jumbo 747, Mike.
Whatever, yeah. It's all good.
Sorry.
Well, that's good. Whatever deal.
This is cool. These are like hot topics right now that everybody's chatting about. I don't feel like
100%.
it.
So I guess when you're looking at this and you're saying, hey, we're innovating into the metaverse, we're innovating into these kind of virtualized environments, what underlying human behavior was identified to say, well, this is what we're solving? Because like to me, I don't feel like I needed this, but maybe I do.
Exploration, curiosity.
Interesting, yeah.
Oftentimes, there's actually research that supports when you started talking about Mike's avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And that
Little Mike.
avatar, as you build it, reflects aspects of your personality.
Sure.
Whether you recognize it or not. So wanting to fly, maybe a little bit of escapism in you.
Could be, yeah, who knows?
Right? So
Sick of sitting
that's
next to Landon all day.
I have so many songs in my head.
So there are these underlying psychological factors that can represent themselves in our avatar or our champion that we build about ourselves.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we can create kind of the perfect version of ourselves that lives in that virtual world. And we could create a version of ourselves that maybe we'd like to be, maybe the bad boy version of Dr. Rippee.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to create
What does
that.
I wanna
look like?
see that
What are we doing
avatar.
there? Yeah, buddy, knocking over the casino instead of going gambling.
No, but it gives you that kind of you're unconstrained now.
Yeah, interesting.
and so that behavior is called escapism.
Yeah.
Right. So it's an escape from the real world. We can escape into this virtual world and be things that subconsciously or consciously we'd like to be but aren't.
Yeah.
And we can have fun with it. And I think that as I keep kind of repeating this social element. This is not something that I think works well in these environments where you go into a room and just put on a headset and you're by yourself.
Right.
It's got to be integrated into a space you're with your friends.
Right.
And they're watching what you're seeing on a screen while you're doing it so they could laugh and carry on with you. And they can be in the same virtual world as you. And you're just kind of interacting, moving in and out of the virtual and real world together.
Yeah,
Now
right.
you've got a real social experience.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is kind of it's almost like a hybrid version of the virtual world. So they're kind of doing it in New Jersey right now so we're all here in Vegas. We put our VR goggles on. We go to a warehouse in Vegas that has gambling or online gambling. Nobody's in the warehouse, but there are actual physical machines that you can go pick, and then it shuts that machine down, and then you're playing it virtually in your goggles. And I can look over to you, and I can see what you're playing. We're hanging out in a virtual space. That's a physical space. Mm-hmm. But not a real physical. Does that make sense? Like a hybrid version?
Yeah, yeah.
You said it's happening?
This is happening. Evolution's doing it right now.
Yeah.
Where they'll just shut the machine down and you're actually playing a physical machine, but in a virtual
Like
world.
remotely or something, yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, and I would assume that's probably more regulatory driven than technology driven.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Two people can't play the same machine at the same time, so I've got to allow you to do it so I could connect it to you. I'm just speculating on that. But,
Yeah, I know.
I think the idea of a physical space where you're tied to real things, but you're playing them virtually, it's a great idea. And, I think a little more than a warehouse is needed.
Right.
Because once you take the headset off, you're in a warehouse.
You're still in this warehouse.
It's like I take the headset off. It'd be kind of nice to be in a nice lounge or a club or a restaurant that I can have some other fun.
You could take this application in so many other ways. Like if everything in your house had a value and it was through an NFT, like this microphone, say it had the value of $500.
Yeah.
Then we did a virtual shot of this room And now I want to have a garage sale, but I don't want to go put it out on my step and put posters up. And I put it on like an online thing. People can view my house, be like, oh, I want to buy that microphone. Boom, they touch it. It has a value. Buy it. Sends me a message, and I ship it to them.
For sure.
I would suspect that technology is not that application is
That's
not very far away.
Like virtual garage, whatever it is. I'm just kind of speculating.
Amazon, eBay, whatever, virtual items that you actually experience, and then 24 hours later, it's on your doorstep.
Oh,
crazy.
You blown away?
Yeah, I've been struggling to keep up with it. This is one where you're taking the charge on understanding all this.
Mine is super
so normally what happens is I do the research and I'm like, okay, I understand the subject, and Landon's just like, what? Like, so that's how I feel today. I'm like, I got to wrap my head around this, man. Like, it's like the Matrix in real life. Like, you plug in and you could be whoever you want.
You're not wrong.
And thank you.
Yeah.
That's how I best understand it. I mean, obviously, in this version, you still have the world as we know it. You're not just in some floating pod defending whatever else, but like,
remember the
weird.
Matrix, all the green little numbers and lines?
Yes.
That's blockchain. That's what we live in now.
Is he even close? I mean, I don't know why I'm looking at him like the expert. I got a big hammer right here.
It depends on how you define close.
Yeah, okay.
Like close New York to Los Angeles compared to the Earth to the moon. Yeah.
You can be nice. You can tell me to shut up at any
Okay.
time.
I'm going Earth to the moon on that.
More like Ready Player One. Remember? Have you
Yeah.
seen the movie Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a better depiction of the metaverse.
Boom. See, that's good.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what are some of the key projects at BlackFire that you're kind of looking for? I mean, obviously you're excited about all of them and everything's going, but are there certain things that either are pulling your time a little more heavily because it's either closer to launch, or like when you think about all the projects, like what are some of the first ones that bubble up?
It spans a variety of things, and not everything we do is related specifically to gaming.
Sure.
It occupies a lot, entertainment, looking at projects, talking to potential tech companies that are very interested. What's really fascinating is, many of the large tech giants, and they're not just the obvious ones that are already said they're, like changing their name to Meta,
right.
but others like Intel, big company, Panasonic, that are really interested in how do they find applications and space in there. And they do that through like projects that we do at BlackFire. And so we've got student projects that are focused on entertainment. We've got a project on a physical experience involving VR, AR. I've got a student team working. Let me think of what's a great one. Sometimes they were actually simpler. Think of a good one here. And Nassim told you about her robotics research.
Yeah, with pepper
Salt.
and some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
That's okay. One of them's a real robot. The other one you've created.
No, it's a robot.
There's no salt, right? It's just pepper.
It's just pepper.
Yeah, see? Come on, buddy. Flashing back to 90s R&B. So yeah, she was talking about robotics and some of the stuff she's working on, and then some of like the machine learning for like revenue prediction and different things.
We're looking at a lot of new innovation around food and beverage.
Oh, cool.
So food and beverage-based restaurants, kitchens. I had talked to a friend of mine who's with one of the large celebrity chef groups, and we're building an advanced technology kitchen as part of the BlackFire facility. Now, you may remember that space when we talked about that was the last piece to be built out there. And one of the interesting things about celebrity chefs today is they realize that entertainment is food and food is entertainment. So, when you think about the, you probably get the same question. You got a visitor come to town and they're going to one of the celebrity chef restaurants. Say, hey, I got a reservation tonight at Hell's Kitchen. Is Gordon Ramsay going to be there? Like, well, probably not.
Yeah, I was going to say, good luck.
But if you're lucky, you come there occasionally, but unlikely that just tonight's that lucky night.
Right.
But what if he was there in a virtual form? What if he was there in some other form and you got to experience how he was directing a kitchen?
Interesting.
So there's a project that's going on right now that's kind of related to that.
Almost like a hologram Gordon Ramsay just yelling at you.
It could be. It's kind of
That's
streaming
like
both ways.
Virtual
and stuff.
masterclass is essentially
That's a good way to think about it.
virtual masterclass.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. Didn't you guys just have Guy at the kitchen? I saw something on.
Yeah, he was there. He started the hotel college. He didn't
what's
invent the
Guy?
hotel college. Guy Fieri.
Yeah,
Guy Fieri. Okay, sorry.
UNLV grad.
celebrity chef.
I don't know if this is an acronym for another robot. I don't know. So, okay, Guy Fieri. Good. Know who that
I'm
is.
online.
Yeah, diners, drivers. Okay, good.
Okay.
So he was there. Yeah, he just did a thing. I don't know if you were at the dinner. Yeah, he was just, I'm sorry, I caught up. He just did a big dinner at the college. I saw that Bo posted that. He's like, look at this stud hosting things. That's fun.
UNLV grad.
I know. There's a lot of rebels doing
Son
big
goes to school
things.
there, too.
Don't get enough hype for that, I feel like.
No.
Bo's doing what he can. He hypes that. I love him, man. His rebel energy.
He's in everything. He's all over.
Well, more importantly, he's got the Rebels and everything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the fun part about it. But oh man,
that's pretty exciting.
How far away are we from this? So like, obviously, we're starting to do some of it now. Like you mentioned, you own NFTs now. Like this meta things happen. I'm sure you could smack an Oculus on your head and have some version of experience. But when is it more fully out there? Like, how far away are we from virtual casino, like in a headset? Kind of walking around.
I can't give you a timeline. I will tell you we're not very far because the rate at which the technology is already there.
So if I was saying
matter of
plus minus 5 years, you'd say maybe less.
I'd say less.
Yeah, wow.
I'd say significantly less.
No one's holding you to this, obviously. It's just us spitballing. That's fun.
I think that the biggest factor that's going to prevent, obviously, is the regulatory piece. The regulatory piece has to follow the innovation piece. So the idea has to be developed, tested, and then proven to regulators that it works and it's safe and fair, and nobody can manipulate it, and you don't have underage, and all of the regulations in the compliance world are happy, and then you'll see the real thing. But the best thing about BlackFire is we can test those things now.
Yeah, well,
and have people started adopting it? Have they started the process of accepting this new technology and trying to implement it into their kind of business models?
Parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot of exploration going on.
Right.
Different entities exploring it. Larger they are, the slower they are to kind of accept the new technology. So a lot of entrepreneurs in that space. A lot of innovators who are thinking, hey, what if I did this? Let me try integrating this and to create a new game, or a new way to bet on sports. Let me just try it, and who knows, maybe it'll work.
Well, it's so interesting because certainly I would get locked into the boundaries of what exists, right? So you're going, okay, well, it's a new game, but I can play it on my PlayStation, right? It's like, well, no, dude, give that up, right? Like, is what I'm hearing you say is like, no, we're inventing a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just a new game that you can play here, or even with the headset. Like, it sounds like it's beyond that, right? Like you mentioned the haptic suit earlier. Mm-hmm. That caught my attention because what you said in the tour, and I'm sure you said this to others, but like you pointed at me, you go, we had a guy, big boy like you, put the suit on and was playing football or something. It was either football or hockey. And you were saying, and then we virtually hit him. So like in the game, he did some drill and they took the suit out. He takes the goggles off. He's literally physically 6 feet to the side. Like that hit had an impact where he physically moved. It wasn't just I got a hit, right? Like that's wild.
Yeah. His brain physically felt the impact of the move, even though the impact was nowhere near the real impact that hit a dummy with sensors on it and transferred that to the suit. His brain convinced him because he had visual cues and a physical stimulation, not a heavy stimulation, a minor one, but enough combined with the visual told his brain, you just got hit.
Jump
and he moved
to the side.
6 feet.
That's wild.
Can you imagine viewing sports? And I'm just fantasizing over here. This is fantastic.
You don't want to get hit.
No, okay. Fine. So I'm at home enjoying my favorite football team. We'll call it the Raiders. I put my haptic suit on, my VR goggles on, right? Yeah. And they build cameras into the football helmets. And you literally can choose which player you want to be on this play. If I'm Big Mike standing there as a linebacker and he just gets hammered and then poof, I feel that. Or you, even brother,
you do not want that. It would be interesting.
If they could turn it down, I'm on like a medium setting over here.
You can't do Pop Warner if you're pretending to be the pros. I feel like that's going to hurt.
You just crushed my dream.
Just trying to check you back to reality.
You checked me. I didn't have a haptic
I don't even want to feel it. I wasn't even a pro. Like college hits are hard and pros are faster and stronger, especially today. Like it's nuts. Like I would recommend no one take those hits.
The point is that changes the way we view everything.
For sure.
That changes the.
Well, what scares me is obviously this is all fun, happy stuff, but it's like they can hack you. Forget your phone, forget your computer. They're going, we just hacked you because we showed you some cool stuff in your eyeballs and we touched a couple of your nerve endings and you jumped 6 feet. Like, you're hacked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Like, and maybe they're not going to be able to make you do, like, you're not going to go assassinate somebody, but, like, it's a little weird, right? Like, some of this, you start getting into this, like, manipulation stuff. It's interesting.
Well, let's talk
Everything
about it.
scares me. It's like, I'm, like, not an Alexa guy, right? Like, I already know whatever we're talking about when we get, like, ads for the suits or whatever on the phone, but, like,
you will, too.
It's creepy, man. I get that we're doing it for good, but some of the stuff, man, I get to be a little nervous about it.
So that's actually a very good point. You're raising the kind of ethical issues behind this technology, and those are big issues. Those are questions that have to be asked. At what point do you say, no, we're not going to go there? And is there some sort of regulatory body, which doesn't exist today, that says, no, you can't make a suit that does that, right? You can't make a suit that actually injures someone. Imagine, as you said, it's a great example. If you were to feel the full force, or at least your brain feel the full force of an impact from a professional linebacker, you would pretty much feel like you just got killed.
Yeah, I mean,
like hit by a car.
They said that's what they say. They say, and I don't know if this is pro level or back when I was playing college ball, but it was like every head-to-head hit is basically the same impact of like a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone car crash. So not crazy freeway stuff, but you're doing it 100 times a game. Like that's what people have brain problems, and it's like it's scary, man. You don't want to have that.
Not in this body frame.
Well, no.
I'm like a Miata at best.
I'm bigger than you. I don't want to do it either. So, like, I guess to that point, like, as you're creating, like, you can't stop innovating. Correct. You just have to hope that they're used for good, right? Is that kind of how they do it? I mean,
well, hope is probably not a strong enough word.
Sure. It's not a plan.
So,
right?
You see discussion today about artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
How far do you let it go? Is there a point at which you say, okay, we need to put a control on the development of artificial intelligence so it doesn't become self-aware and begin to do things on its own?
How real is that threat?
Of it becoming self-aware?
Yeah, because you hear about it in like the sci-fi movies, and you hear it like on chats or something, but you're going, that can't really happen, right? Or could it? Like, is that a real threat?
So it's not a threat today.
Sure.
I think if you put it on a timeline of a decade or 2 decades, it's probably some probability that could happen.
See it happen. Yeah.
It's not, as we would say as scientists, it's a non-zero probability.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Have you seen the podcast where Joe Rogan was interviewing Elon Musk and he asked him that exact question?
I didn't.
It goes dead silent. And Elon goes, I told them that they were moving too fast. And stops. Jeez. And Joe Rogan looked like he saw a ghost.
You think? It's crazy.
He goes, wait, whoa. Like, how screwed are we on this deal? And Elon doesn't say anything.
Listen, there's crazy people.
Yeah.
Right? You can see that in the news today. We have to get all the way into it. There's people that are in powerful positions that can do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I still prefer the idea of some person doing it than this thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, I don't know if, was it Asimov's law? Is that the guy, the robotics guy that says there's 3 laws and that you can't hurt your human or whatever they were? And it's like, I don't know, man. I watched enough Will Smith movies to know I'm not safe here. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's going to happen.
Says it's going to happen. It happen soon.
Well, Simpsons predict everything, right? So it's like, how far can Will Smith be off? But yeah, it's wild, right? And then back to the whole point about the ethical concerns, it's interesting, right? Because there's always going to be somebody that figures out, well, how do I use this for bad?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And is there enough of a body, a consensus of humankind that says we need to make ethical roadblocks that says, okay, you can go this far, but no further. And the scientists who are the ones who ultimately are developing this, do they pay attention to those roadblocks? Or are there bad players that said, you know what, those are optional to me? So I'm
well, that's the thing, right? How do you enforce it, right? Like, it's like, okay, great. You can use a haptic suit up to level 5, up to like this. And then you go, well, what if he goes to 10?
Yeah.
Who stops them, right? Like, how do you know?
My thing is the desensitization of things. So, like, how far do we go in just being overstimulated? And then we go into the real world, and all of a sudden, Topgolf's not fun because in the virtual world,
you're Tiger Woods.
I'm going from Mars to like, and you're like, Topgolf, I'm really good at this thing, but in this world,
on the moon.
That would be my big question. I mean, I'm all in for the oversensitization and living in a virtual world and having crazy fun that we've never had.
I couldn't even imagine. My phone already drains me. Like, I hit the phone and look, I got to be better. I try to plug it away when I'm at home, but it's a struggle, right? Like, I could not imagine introducing a new thing. So you still have your phone, you're still going to call each other and text, I'm assuming, and then you go, well, cool, now we're going to go meet up in this other world. Yeah. Instead of watching whatever movie you're watching, you're going to go do 2 hours of
gamble with
happy
aliens.
Fun time on Mars or whatever, right? And then you go, that's just crazy. Like, at some point, like, what's the brain? Is there research yet on like what the brain's response is to this? Like,
well,
is it fatiguing
you can.
or tiring?
So that's it's called longitudinal research, which happens over years,
over time.
Over time, and you're not going to know that until you look across generations, right? So Gen Zs who, as they grow up, looking at how the adoption of these technologies has affected them over time. Has it desensitized them? That's a great, theoretical question. Does it have a desensitizing effect towards real world circumstances? Don't know. The only way we can is by studying humans and seeing how that plays out. Or are we a species that adapts and we learn to separate at some point? I think that's a fairly reasonable hypothesis for Gen Z, is that they're able to separate and say, okay, I know artificial from real, but I still like artificial because it's really fun and it's enjoyable and stimulating. Yeah. But I got a difference and I know what the real world is.
Look, I play video game that Landon always makes fun of me about, but it's like, I get it. It's an escape, to your point. I can go kill things in this world and, slay dragons or whatever, I'm up to it. And then you go, but then I'm done. And then I walk home and I go, I don't expect to be swinging battle axes at my house, right? Like to your point, it's this very clear line.
Right.
But to me, it's also a different form factor, right? I don't feel like I'm there. I'm just playing it on TV, right? But if all of a sudden I'm there and I'm like looking as if it's me in my eyes and my hands virtually or whatever, like I don't know how.
But you playing that video game is about as far off as like living in the medieval times to you playing a video game to now you're in a virtual world. So it's just evolution. I mean, think of that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what the brain looks like.
And that opens up a whole new slew of opportunities, if we're going to call them opportunities, of being more creative or being able to socialize more because you don't want to in the real world, which is whatever it is. It opens up a whole new.
Well, the applications, obviously, as you're pointing out, do become much broader. And we don't have to think about, virtualized world just simply in terms of entertainment. Think about education.
Yeah.
It changes the education model. So now if you're learning, you're in 6th grade learning biology, and you no longer open a textbook and they give you, some images of what the human brain looks like. You're looking at one in the air, and you're seeing how it works, and your teacher is pointing how, your teacher's pointing how the neurons work and how electricity flows through the brain. Just think how knowledge changes, and the acquisition of knowledge changes in 6th grade biology.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm a visual learner, so that would be good for me. More so than just reading. I'm just saying other people learn differently, so we could figure out who learns how. They could be in different classes.
Precisely.
It becomes.
Well, it'll be interesting to me then to see, could you do it that way and then do it like a menu, right? So, if you take a business training, right, a lot of times they say, well, you've been assigned this module and there's 10 videos you have to watch and a quiz. They don't normally tell you got to show up at Tuesday at 9. They should get it done this week.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see, then do kids get to go, okay, you have this thing, this virtual setup. Do it on your leisure, but this week you have to get through 12 modules, right? Or whatever the module count is. Because that's the thing I struggle with. Looking at my little kids, so mine are only 5 and 4 right now. And so it's they're not yet in school, but I'm I don't know how these kids are ever going to sit still for that long. Because they learn now pretty well, but they learn for an hour and then they go run around and get it out. And then they come back and they learn for an hour and then they shake it off in the yard. And it's give people that with this advanced technology. It could be the new heights of human knowledge. But
I read a research paper recently that had looked into that very element, and one of the conclusions they came to was, and it was a great statement that you had in the conclusions to the research study, and they say, what happens when a child is studying a subject and they get frustrated because they're not able to achieve it?
Sure.
They give up.
Right.
They don't.
I'm out of there.
I don't want to study this anymore. I don't understand how to do geometry. I quit. I'm not going to do it.
Sounds
I'll take a seat.
Right?
What happens when you run into an obstacle in a video game?
You die and you just start again.
Then you start again.
Figure it out.
You start over again. Right? I'm going to get this.
Exactly.
I got to reboot. I'm going to respawn. I'm going to get this. I don't care if it takes me.
We've all restarted Mario how many times?
6 hours. I am eventually going to get through this level and eventually accomplish it. So what these researchers were saying is converge those. Here's a behavior that they will accept failure as motivation to keep trying and to try over again. And combine that to the geometry lesson where this is too hard, I don't want to learn this. Okay, well, let's try it this way. Let's try this technique now and see how you do, where we present you with an obstacle, a challenge in the form of a game.
Wild.
Sold.
You're in now.
Wow. I've always knew it was a good idea. I just didn't know anything about it. And now that I'm here, especially with the educational stuff, that's where I look and go,
yeah.
All right, sold.
So
I like learning stuff.
Your kids will grow up in an environment like that.
And you're not wrong. You're 100% right. One of my kids, and I'm not going to call them out, but one of my kids, not him, but them out, right? One of them is more, like you just said, it's hard. I'm good. Because they are naturally good at certain things and naturally not good at other things. And then on the other things, they're going, forget this thing. I'm going to go do something. Now, I have another kid that's going, I'm going to sit here until I get it, right? So more determined. But I'm like, video game, I bet you're right. Because they both have on the Kindle this learning software and they go through it and they get it There's never not done it. Time, sure, might take longer for one than the other, but yeah, it's interesting.
Well, wow. This has been
fun,
a
yeah.
fascinating podcast. I promised I was never going to say fascinating again on here, but we just threw it out there.
Pepper one in for old time's sake.
Ooh, nice. Well done. Way to work the pep in there.
So all this talk about gaming and gambling, are you a gambler yourself?
Nope.
No, don't gamble?
Very rarely. Sports book once in a while. Mainly on emotional basis, though. There's no science.
Who's the team? Do you have a team? You like the hometown boys and girls? Like, who do you root for?
Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, the Bulldogs. Well, you had a great run this year then. Hopefully you put one at the beginning of the season and said, hey, we're gonna take it down.
Had a feeling.
That's awesome.
It was this season.
Yeah, congrats on that. It's like,
Thank
what
you.
is it, 40 years or something since you won?
Yeah.
I'm not an SEC guy, but that's like the main conference. So everyone has kind of basically an SEC person. So
especially if you live in the South for any period of time, you realize those are
yeah,
those state.
I
teams.
didn't. We played against. So when I was early days of it was my freshman year. We played against Tennessee, right at Tennessee. So it's like yes, we actually kept it closer than we probably could have. But yeah, we didn't.
Can you
win.
sing Rocky Top?
No, I was
Did you
trying to drown that out.
Do you have it?
You have it in your brain.
Into your brain?
Yeah. But it was funny because like that's when you realize you're in a whole new era, right? So you're leaving the airport, and a lot of times, even in the Mountain West, you'd get a police escort.
Yeah.
But this one's like starts at 30 minutes out.
Yeah.
Right? You're going, and there's way more police vehicles than you expect, and it was like, oh man, they're tailgating 25 minutes away, and the whole ride in, you're seeing this. It's just a whole different world. 110,000 people in the stadium. Probably 500,000 outside the stadium. It was nuts.
That's wild.
So yeah, congrats to you guys.
Thank you.
That's a big one.
Go Dogs.
Georgia Bull. Yeah, go Dogs. And
Go Rebs. If you
Go
guys
Rebs.
haven't
The red
checked
teams.
out BlackFire, you got to go over and check it out.
yeah, is that
It's
an
an
available thing? Like we were
amazing
invited because we know. I was gonna say, like, how
never
do you
mind,
get in? Like,
cancel
is there a
that.
way to check it out? You have to know somebody. You
kind of got to know
I
somebody.
didn't know if you were setting up tours once a month or something. Yeah.
No, not really.
Got it. Okay.
I take that statement back. If you
Google
haven't
BlackFire.
checked out BlackFire,
Check it out online. Make a friend.
You check it
Yeah.
out online. That's good. There's
go
plenty of.
socialize, meet some more people.
Oh man.
Well, thanks for joining us
My
on
pleasure.
the podcast. This was a very interesting podcast. I think this is one that
It's
will
cool.
resonate to a lot of people because a lot of people are still trying to figure out this
Yeah.
new
I think a lot more
technology.
people are in my camp than where you guys are. Right? People
not
are going,
anywhere.
I don't know. I
Just-
hear it. No, I'm just saying, like, just from an understanding,
Yeah.
like, you understand it better than I do. Obviously, you understand it better than both of us. And it's like, what is it? Like, I feel like a lot of people going, I hear NFTs. I see Meta. I see what Zucks is doing, the Meta thing. I don't really know what it means, right? So, yeah, this is helpful. I mean, I feel like I at least have a better understanding of it after
Good.
the last 45 minutes or however
Glad
long it's been.
to be helpful and teach a little bit.
And we appreciate you answering the call out. And now
Yeah.
we get to ask you to call out someone.
Yeah,
This
who would
is
you like to nominate to come sit in
you
the
get
hot
to
seat
call
where you
someone out.
Oh, this
talk
is
about?
a
Yeah.
great question. Who would I nominate to come? Let's see. Ryan Rubio at MGM.
Ryan
Rubio.
Don't know Ryan, but I
You
love
know,
Ryan.
I'll
he's
make the
getting 5
connection.
text
That's it.
messages right now.
As soon as this airs,
Yo,
he's
you were
getting-
called out on the podcast.
Rippee told you got to do it. So perfect. What's Ryan Rubio? What is he into? Like, what's his discipline? Like, what
So
does he do?
he works in the innovation team
Oh, cool.
at MGM. Very
Cool.
bright young man. He did a lecture in my class last week for me at
Yeah.
Quest. He's a good friend.
Perfect.
Very smart guy.
We would love to chat with him.
Awesome. Well, if you're willing
Ryan
to send
Rubio.
an intro out
I will.
after this, it'd be helpful. But we're in on all this. We love learning, and we always laugh, especially now sitting here in this conversation. However many 70 episodes in, when we first started, we're like, we know this industry. We're good.
You know, I'm
We're
going to
gonna
ask
talk-
him that. He can
we're
just
gonna
start
talk all these
preparing right
people.
now. Are you guys prepared for VR in the virtual world?
To MGM. Yeah. No, I'm just laughing because it's like we just learned so much. Like, could you imagine thinking you knew everything when this is like by itself a world
You can't
opener?
even keep up with the technology that's coming. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
You might know everything tomorrow. You don't.
Well, thanks for the education, Doctor.
Thank you.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
you coming by.
Appreciate
It was
you. Thank
great,
you so much.
great
Welcome.
seeing you. And Ryan
Likewise.
Rubio, we're coming for you, buddy. Let's do it.
Rock and roll.
Thanks.